Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to be talking about 2 election reforms that we can realistically implement and how these reforms may be the only way to save our country from complete and total collapse. The United States is in big trouble. Both political parties have failed us. The US has many problems that have continued on for decades, but neither party has significantly addressed them. Any action the government has taken is simply placing a band-aid over our existing problems. Our political leaders are completely unaccountable to us as regular citizens. Our country is on a trajectory of economic collapse, and our descendants will suffer as a result. Future generations will not know the middle-class prosperity that many of us have experienced. But there is good news. We can still save America before it is too late. There are 2 election reforms that America can implement to change course. They are known as ranked choice voting and top 5 primary. And when these methods are used together, it is known as Final 5 voting. Final 5 voting is something that is being championed by an organization called the Institute for Political Innovation. These reforms are already in the process of being implemented in several states: Alaska, Maine, Wisconsin, Utah, and Nevada. Before I go into detail about ranked choice voting and top 5 primary, you first need to understand why our political system is failing us and how these reforms will address our current problems. The first thing that you need to understand is that our political system is not broken. It works exactly as it was designed to. The problem is that it was not designed to work for us. It was designed to fail us. Over several decades, politicians, lobbyists, corporations, and other wealthy individuals have created laws and regulations that make the system respond to the desires of the elite class and leave regular citizens without a voice. Elites in this country have propped up the 2-party system and have rigged the game so that third parties do not get a voice. And this way, no matter who wins, they stay in power and they continue to get rich. You can tell that the system is rigged by the fact that our congressional approval rating is only 17% in the United States, but there is a re-election rate of over 90%. The main problem with the 2-party system in the United States is that it lacks competition, and citizens are trapped and being forced to choose between 2 terrible and inadequate parties. Ranked choice voting and top 5 primary solve this problem by making third parties viable and by giving us free market competition in elections. Okay, now let's talk about Final 5 voting. In the Final 5 voting election system, they use ranked choice voting for the general election and a top 5 primary for the primary election. During a normal general election, you only get to vote for one candidate, whereas during a ranked choice voting election, you get to order each candidate according to your personal preference. And this way, you don't have to worry about voting for the lesser of 2 evils or wasting your vote on a third-party candidate. In a ranked choice voting election, the winning candidate has to get over 50% of the vote. If none of the candidates get 50%, then they have something called instant runoff voting, where they eliminate the candidate who has the least votes, and people who put that eliminated candidate as their first choice, their second choice will then be taken into account. And this process will be repeated until a candidate reaches 50%. This way, it requires each candidate to have approval of the majority of voters. Okay, guys, so I'm going to talk a little bit about top 5 primary. In a regular primary election, each party has their own primary, and oftentimes it's closed to people who are registered to other parties. And only one person from each party ends up in the general election. And independent candidates don't get to participate in the primary process at all. They often have to go through this complicated process of signature gathering. However, in a top 5 primary, there is one open primary for independents and anyone else regardless of party affiliation. and the top 5 ranking candidates in this election go on to the general election. And I think there's several advantages to this system. The first advantage is that we don't get candidates that appeal to a small faction within a particular party. We get candidates that appeal to a wide range of voters. And you can actually get multiple candidates from the same party in the general election. And this actually makes it harder for a political party to rig the primaries. And so if they want a particular candidate to not win, they can't just spend money on one candidate because there's 5 people that end up going to the general election. And it gives us candidates that are more responsive to the voters. I actually think that this is one of the most important topics that I've ever covered on this channel, because I think that this will give us candidates that are responsive to the people. And if there are candidates that don't fit our needs, we have a way of finding someone better. With the 2-party system, both parties are horrible, and oftentimes neither of them is actually getting much done at all. And so with this, we actually have a way of getting our voices back, and it makes it harder for the establishment in Washington, D.C. from stopping us from getting what we want. And I think that even when we get a final 5 of voting implemented in all 50 states, there's still a long way to go, because a lot of people have still believe strongly in the 2-party system, and they just vote for these parties because that's what has been promoted so much. But so once ranked choice voting is a thing across the whole nation, we will then need to promote third parties and change people's ways of thinking. And so guys, that's all I have for this video. If you liked it, please subscribe to the channel.